The Lion, the Witch, and the audacity of that bitch in general.
People are trying to find out where we get the audacity.
It's a free download. It's a pretty decent audio recording software that's been free for a very long time. So, and the cat has already left us, and she's already trying to.
She's been obsessed with the playmats for.
Yeah. Well,
like really invested in them for the past couple of days.
Yeah, she. Like, I'm not going to find a new place for them. Like, where they live is fine. And she's not, like, breaking anything. Like, they're very flexible material.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating and loud when we record the podcast, specifically.
Or when we're just kind of trying to live our lives.
I'm more okay with that. Anyway, welcome. Episode 10.
Episode 10.
Episode 10 of the Dungeon Bros podcast. I'm Connor.
And I'm Sam.
And we're finally starting to figure out how to podcast,
yeah.
I think.
At least for our recording software, you have to futz with it a lot less.
Yeah, the futzing has gone down orders of magnitude.
Yes.
Which is exceptionally useful. But 10 episodes. We're 20 weeks into this bitch.
We are. We're I think we said 6 months we'll do an eval of how we're podcasting. I think we've done a self eval already, and we're like, okay.
Yeah, the views, I mean, more views would always be better.
Yeah.
We're not really trying to push it right now.
No, this is mostly a reason for us to hang out and talk about Dungeons and Dragons every 2 weeks specifically.
Yeah, and also an excuse for us to actually use TikTok Live.
Yeah.
We're not very good at the live streaming on the TikTok right now.
I mean, a lot of the D&D stuff we do currently is either playing a game, which we're not ready to stream an actual play game.
We're getting close.
We
need some more gear, but we're dangerously close to some live play D&D action.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting.
And other than that, we do a lot of the homebrewing.
A lot of homebrew.
But we kind of do that on our own time, not together, and we never really talked about game design theory between ourselves.
Maybe that'll be episode 12 of the podcast. Episode 11 of the podcast, which is going to be our next one, we're going to be diving deep into topic 1 of the news items today, dropping just yesterday as we record. But we'll get to that momentarily. Samuel, what's up with the TikTok algorithm? The TikTok algorithm,
we're what do we decided? We started like last September, I think. We figured it out.
Yeah,
late September.
Late September, something like that.
And up to this point, we have no idea what people are going to like at any point in time.
Zero idea. Some of our favorite bits, the most favoritist of bits that we have done.
The ones we have to try and redo like 3 or 4 times because we bust out laughing while we're recording them.
Struggle to hit 1,000 views, and then like throwaway stitches that we do with, say, a slightly muscular man saying, "What if you worked out 4 to 5 times a week?" That one will get over 750,000 views in 2 days.
Yeah,
it's our second most viewed video of all time, behind us slapping each other's butts with Salem.
Yeah,
which was a lovely time. It was a good bit. It wasn't a 1 million view bit, but apparently we were wrong.
Argue with it though.
I'm not going to argue with it either. I mean, this current one just kind of isn't really slowing at the moment. No. I mean, by the time this podcast releases, it'll probably have chilled out a little bit.
Well, I mean, we've got another week before this podcast releases.
Yeah, I mean,
who knows what's going to happen?
It might be our top viewed video by then, which is
weird.
Something.
Like, at least two of our other top 2 videos before this one were very specifically D&D, like, jokes.
Oh yeah. So the butt slapping one is just funny in general.
Mm-hmm.
And the only tie to D&D that it had was the text at the bottom. We didn't even put text on the video.
No.
This one is decidedly D&D content, and it feels like every couple of minutes we're getting a comment, and it feels like we get a like every minute, and
a lot of the comments are people wanting to find a group to play D&D.
Yeah, you can join our Discord server. It's a great spot. There's a link in our bio on TikTok. I've been trying to tell people that in the comment section as often as I can. As well as the video description of this podcast on YouTube. You can find an invite link to our Discord server. I don't think we've discussed it heavily, but in the future, a possibility of a Patreon. I would like to keep the Discord server open to anyone and everyone.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of Patreon exclusive Discords, which I'm totally in favor of too. One of my favorite Discord servers that I'm a part, one of like the 3 Discord servers that I'm a part of, is a Patreon exclusive one. And I think it'd be fun if we could set up like a Patreon exclusive section of the Discord and like additional ranks to give people who are various tiers of Patreon support, if we ever did that.
Yeah.
But we want the Discord to stay free and open. We want to create an environment where people can get together and play D&D on their own without us, because a lot of people want to play with us.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of women want to play with us, which is really weird to me. I'm not used.
Women will talk to you.
Yeah, I'm not used to that in general.
Well, you have a girlfriend.
Yeah, and most of my friends are female.
Yeah.
So I was completely lying. But but that mentality of it's weird. It's weird. So many people wanting to play D&D with us. And there's been some thirst in the comments as well. Like,
there's a lot of we randomly get thirst, mostly for you.
And that I really don't get.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know I'm very attractive. Very attractive. And I know that can be very intimidating for people like you to be around me all the time like that.
Yes, absolutely.
But I feel like more thirst should be thrown at Sam. Maybe if you gained a couple pounds, got more lumberjacky instead of and like thicker, more unkempt of a beard, then maybe you'd be getting more of the thirst.
Maybe I should just exclusively start wearing red buffalo plaid flannel shirts.
That would definitely help. That would definitely help.
Also, if I worked muscles and not just like the running.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
let's actually get into the news. We've got quite a few news items of varying levels of interest. The most important news item number 1, this dropped yesterday as we were recording, and so we haven't had a chance to really dive deep into this, but Wizards of the Coast has a new Unearthed Arcana that released on March 8th. This one is a Dragonlance setting, and it's got some player options. It's got 1 race, the Kender. It's got 2 subclasses, the Sorcerer subclass of Lunar Magic. And no, it's got 1 subclass, the Sorcerer subclass of Lunar Magic. It's got 2 backgrounds, the Knight of Salamnia and the Mage of High Sorcery. And it's got quite a few feats. Yeah. Divinely Favored, Initiate of High Sorcery, Squire of Samanlia, a couple Adept ofs, Black Robes, Red Robes, and White Robes, Divine Communications, Knight of the Crown, Knight of the Sword, Knight of the Robe. A whole lot of Dragonlance specific setting stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. We've discussed previously about what we know and what we don't know about upcoming 2022 Wizards of the Coast releases. We theorized that with Fizbin's coming out and how popular that one is and the heavy Dragonlance inspiration that we'd be getting a Dragonlance setting, and this UA really kind of cements that, I would say.
And just as a reminder for people who don't necessarily know, UA is playtest material that Wizards is trying to get out there a little ahead of time and see how the community reacts. And this is kind of our large overview. Like we said, we'll talk more about it next week.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to really dive into the details of all the features that are available. The Kender apparently is a long-standing, somewhat controversial race from what I've been seeing online. I don't know the details of it yet. But it seems like Wizards of the Coast is just apparently changing it up a little bit. I don't know how, and I don't know the historical context of that, so that's all I'm going to say about that. The idea of the Lunar Magic Sorcerer subclass, as we have discussed in the Dungeon Bros podcast lore, the moon works for us.
Yeah.
So if you play a Lunar Magic Sorcerer, you're welcome. That's entirely on us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our honor.
Yes, it is our honor. Some setting specific backgrounds, always a good time. The feats are what's really interesting. There's a lot of them.
There are. Like more so than pretty much any other pack I've really seen up to this point. And
several of them require a previous feat as a prerequisite in addition to level. So I think they might be leaning... we've discussed briefly when talking about feats the idea of more openness with giving out and taking feats instead of just at ASIs. And it looks like this setting might encourage handing out the Squire of Solamnia in the Initiate of High Sorcery or Divinely Favored as just a free feat to give your players at the beginning, which I'm always going to be in favor of.
Right.
And then the other feats available are feats you can take after having those base level.
Yeah, definitely. If Wizards is listening to the community, the feats are one of the things, and especially in the past couple months, we've heard a lot of discussion about where people would like more feats to be, more opportunities for feats to be given out. And of course, DMs should be giving out feats at their discretion for their game, as long as they communicate with their players about what level of gameplay they want to have. But yeah, it's definitely an older edition idea that feats require other feats. Up to this point, any prerequisites have been can cast magic or have certain AS ability scores.
Yeah. They haven't even had really level caps on feats yet.
Yeah.
That's more of like an Eldritch Invocation thing, and a lot of these feats have a requirement of being at least 4th level, which is basically you can't take it as a variant human.
Right, yes.
Essentially. Like, you'll be able to take it at your first ASI, which kind of makes sense if they're pushing these first 3 feats as feats that you give at level 1 or right at the start of a game. Then it would be it kind of wouldn't make sense for a player to get that and then variant human and then get the next version of that like at the same time.
Yeah, because obviously the next ones are it goes from initiate to adept and squire to knight. So this is supposed to be some sort of almost level up in its own way, some lore based leveling instead of just XP or milestone leveling that a DM would control.
Dragonlance is a setting that I am not familiar with. My older brother and my father have given me hell for not reading the Dragonlance books because they are supposedly very, very good. And with my adoration of Lord of the Rings and D&D, they are just dumbfounded by the fact that I haven't read these books and really don't have a desire. That's mostly just my aversion to reading in general.
And
I don't have time. I don't have time to
so much.
to that.
There's so much media consumption that we do anyway,
I know.
between podcasts, TV shows, movies that come out rapidly these days.
It genuinely stresses me out, the concept of trying to, like, how can I fit in an audiobook, or how can I fit in sitting down and reading, in addition to all of the other stuff that I consume on a weekly basis that I want to continue and not fall behind on. It's a lot. Anyway, do you have any other thoughts about this UA? We will be going into detail about the features, everything in the next podcast episode 11. Again, this UA has only been out for a day.
24, basically 24 hours at this point. It looks super interesting. I'm excited to look into it.
These feats are particularly interesting,
worthy of picks.
On the surface level, yeah, because a lot of them have I see a half ASI feat here. I see free spells. Yeah, good time.
All right, we will consume those over the next 2 weeks and get back to you.
News item number 2. Dungeons & Dragons dives into Critical Role Call of the NetherDeep. They're doing a lot of previews for the Call of the NetherDeep. Comicbook.com had an exclusive on interviewing Matt Mercer and Chris Perkins and some of the other writers and designers for Call of the NetherDeep. Again, for those of you that don't know, Call of the NetherDeep is going to be an official D&D campaign, an adventure book. It's not a setting that takes place in the world of Exandria for Critical Role. It's going to start out on Wildmount, going to move to Marquette, and then eventually to a magical underwater realm of NetherDeep. And they really talk a lot about the effect that underwater NetherDeep has on monsters, and they show a couple of horrifying images in this article.
Awesome.
They're really cool. The corrupted giant shark is one of them. The Death Embrace, which looks like a flump on steroids. And the Light Devourer, a creature that literally devours the light and creates darkness around them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of details in this interview, and they've been releasing a lot of video interviews with Matt Mercer in the lead up to this with D&D Beyond on YouTube. I haven't watched all of them. I've taken a look at a couple of things, but I'm definitely really pumped about the Call of the NetherDeep. It comes out March 15th in the United States and April 5th in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Suck it, lobsterbacks. Brits. We're American.
If that wasn't already obvious.
If that wasn't already abundantly clear. What do you got? What are your vibes? What vibes are you getting off of Call of the NetherDeep?
I mean, I'm always excited for new content, and especially with these the bestiary photos that they've included in here. Like, these look super cool. I mean, in the article, it does some of the questions. This one is specifically about the interview with Chris Perkins, and he very much says I was pretty hands off on this one. Mm-hmm. So, and this is Matt Mercer almost all the way, where Matt pretty much, and another collaborator, Joey. I don't want to Hake.
Come on, you got it.
Hake.
Yeah, sure.
H-A-E-C-K. I'm terrible at pronunciations. My apologies to the author. Joey, to the author Joey. In this case, it was all them, and he says it gives it a very different flavor than a lot of the other D&D content that has come out in the past couple of years.
I mean, D&D specific content versus Critical Role based D&D content definitely have different vibes to them. One thing that I have learned from between Darrington Press and the other official Critical Role releases, especially in partnership with Wizards of the Coast, the content and the quality of it is very high. Critical Role does a very good job of going out and finding talented, enthusiastic artists, and I expect Call of the NetherDeep will be more of the same in that regard. The art for the monsters that they show in this article are very, very good. Mm-hmm. Some of the art that they put in the thumbnails for the YouTube videos as well, very, very good. All a good time. I mean, we buy pretty much any Critical Role D&D book that's been released. We've got Tal'Dorei Reborn in front of us as we record right now. We discussed Tal'Dorei Reborn, I believe, 2 episodes ago.
I believe so.
I believe it was 8. Something like that.
I think it was 7, actually.
7 or 8. One of those.
I think it was 7 because we had to re-record it.
Oh, that's right. We did have to re-record it. It was 7. Yeah. Wow, that sucked. Let's not do that again.
No.
But Call of the NetherDeep, again, March 15th. If you are in the United States or most of the other world, Europe, you get it in April, beginning of April 5th.
Yeah, I think 20 days later.
We will be getting this book. This would normally have been the topic of episode 11 of the podcast. This will probably be the topic of episode 12 because we want to dive into the UA as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. Depending on how long that discussion goes, we may talk a little bit about Call of the NetherDeep, sort of first impression, initial reactions next week. But in the meantime, next news item, Sam.
Next up, Wizards of the Coast has sent a takedown notice to the organizer of the fan-made Magic NFT project. Of course, Magic the Gathering, another one of the products created and sold by Wizards of the Coast since its inception in 1993. Basically, what's going on here is this anonymous author who has a deep interest in NFTs and the blockchain came up with a more or less business plan to create an online marketplace for the NFTs of Magic the Gathering cards. And Wizards of the Coast, based on intellectual property law, said that this was infringement.
Yeah, I mean, they were very polite about it. Yeah. The MTG DAO is the fan project, and they tweeted out some screenshots of emails that they got from Wizards of the Coast and their lawyers, and they were very polite. They appreciated the enthusiasm for Magic the Gathering. They appreciated it, but at the same time, they can't really allow this to happen because they literally are. The idea is literally just taking Magic the Gathering cards as printed, as currently made, and building them on the blockchain with NFTs. Wizards of the Coast did kind of allude to hinting at their own sort of digital marketplace beyond just Magic the Gathering arena. Could be NFTs. I would really, as we discussed very fervently this morning.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about this.
I am anti NFT. I could go either way on crypto. Crypto makes sense. NFTs just feel like a pyramid scheme to me in their current form, and that might sound like an idiot in 10 years. I'm willing to risk that because it really all just kind of feels like a scam at the moment. And I mean, even these guys, the road to hell paved with good intentions. It's clear they love Magic the Gathering. It's clear that they want to try and fix some of the problems of card scarcity and value and printing runs for Magic the Gathering from Wizards of the Coast. But I mean, can't really infringe on intellectual property.
Yeah.
And tying it to NFTs, to me, I know that you are somewhat of a different mind, but to me it feels a lot unnecessary to put NFTs into everything right now.
I can see where it could go, but yeah, at this point I'm not huge on the I'm not on the NFT train by any means, and I also do find it funny that most people who are into it just understand it as a chance to make money.
It just feels so schemy.
But that being said, basically, the white paper, it's called the white paper, the MTGDAO white paper. It is hello, Jester.
Hello, the bean has joined us. You are just perfect.
It is available to read online. It is, I think, 7 pages and not full. It's not,
It's not some weird like corporate speak either.
Nope.
Like it's very much just like a guy.
Yeah. But I do find one thing interesting in there is, and in this article he mentions that he wants. We're assuming that's a he. This creator has an interest in creating this, obviously making money for it, and then using that money that he made to eventually buy the rights of Magic the Gathering from Wizards of the Coast and give it to the community, or basically make this group make the community or this group the full Magic the Gathering owners.
Which very lofty goal. Very lofty goal.
Indeed.
I don't think, like, sometimes I think just numbers are like bandied about and people don't really consider it. Like $1 million is a lot of money. As we will discuss in the next story, the $1.29 billion in full year revenue from Wizards of the Coast in 2021 is an unfathomably large amount of money for anyone to really comprehend, unless you're already dealing in hundreds of millions of dollars at a time.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit unrealistic. One thing that I find a little bit ironic here, he complains a little bit about the Magic the Gathering secondary market, sort of like a fiat economy of cards where their value can like skyrocket or crater at any given time, and he wants to try and stabilize that, when that's exactly what is happening in the crypto and NFT market right now. The value of things can go up and down with seeming no reason.
I mean, sometimes we can send Dogecoin to the moon.
I mean, I was on the Dogecoin's gonna hit $1 train for a while. Man, once there's like a solid cryptocurrency that hits just like like $1 to $10 and can like stably be there, then cryptocurrency can be like a legitimate currency that people would consider using. But like Bitcoin being probably around like 60,000, 50,000 right now.
60,000 at this time.
I mean, that's just an unrealistic number unless they wanted to like just move some decimal points around and just kind of artificially change the value of Bitcoin, which would be
you can buy partial Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
We are by no means experts on cryptocurrency, NFTs, or the stock market, so
I would consider us amateur to low intermediate in stocks, ETFs, and then amateur in cryptocurrency. No clue about NFTs.
We need to take a feat.
We need to take the NFT feat for sure. I've tried to learn about NFTs. I have no clue. And I feel like the people that do supposedly know what's going on with NFTs, they don't sound like they know what's going on. They just kind of talk in circles a whole lot, and it's like... Anyway,
that brings us to our next, actually, story. Like you were saying, go ahead.
Topic 3. Wizards of the Coast spin-off from Hasbro. We discussed it briefly last week. The idea, it is AltaFox Capital. It is an activist investor group that owns about 2.5% of Hasbro, one of the majority shareholders of Hasbro. And they have been pushing very, very heavily for Wizards of the Coast to spin off in a tax-free way from Hasbro, because they see Hasbro as an entity holding Wizards of the Coast back. They have an entire website up that has a letter to shareholders. It's freethewizards.com. It's got a 100-slide investor presentation as well. Very dense. We're not going to get into any of that. But Connor Haley is the founder of AltaFox Capital. I want to shout out Connor because I am a Connor. And he spells his name properly with an OR at the end instead of an ER. And I respect that very much. I respect that. I do not respect ER Connors. I don't like them. They give us all a bad name. Literally. It looks stupid. It's got, like, Connor has a lot of symmetry in the middle of the name, with like a little flare at the front, flare at the back, and then it's symmetrical in the middle. But if you throw that second O out and you put an E there, then it's not symmetrical anymore. It throws off the look of the name entirely.
I think you've put way too much thought into this.
I've been a Connor my entire life. I've put a lot of thought into this.
Whose fault is that? It's your parents' fault.
I love my parents, and I love my name. Connor Haley, he points out that 71% of Hasbro's intrinsic value is currently being held by the Wizards of the Coast section of Hasbro, which has a built-in fan base for decades between Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. They call Wizards of the Coast Hasbro's sort of hidden gem. It's kind of keeping them afloat. They did not specify revenue for Wizards of the Coast over the past 20 years, but they talk about 2021. In February, the Wizards segment was listed as a separate business segment of the company to highlight its growth specifically. In the fiscal year of 2021, the Wizards of the Coast segment had a year-over-year growth of 42%, full year revenue at $1.29 billion. For just Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. AltaFox believes Wizards contributed to around 50% of the overall EBITDA for Hasbro in fiscal year 2021. If you wanted to tell me what that acronym is, I would appreciate that.
We could have looked this up beforehand, but we didn't.
We didn't. I don't really have a desire. Wizards of the Coast has grown at a compounded annual growth rate in the double digits for the last 10 years. Magic the Gathering revenue was up for the fourth consecutive year in 2021, marking 12 of the last 13 years that Magic the Gathering has grown on a year-over-year basis. And Dungeons & Dragons revenue was up for the 9th consecutive year in 2021. There's a Magic the Gathering animated series expected to be released on Netflix in the second half of 2022. There's a film based on Dungeons & Dragons that's scheduled for a 2023 theatrical release. And they go on to list a whole lot of, like, all of the benefits. They believe that if they spun off Wizards of the Coast from Hasbro, the shares of Wizards of the Coast would be worth upwards of $100 or $200 per share today, if it happened. Currently, the share price, as of the writing of this article for Hasbro as a whole, is at $97.98, and they believe that it would immediately grow from a spinoff. And then if they continue to be spun off, they believe that the share price could be worth over $200 and even upwards of $300 if all of their supposed changes in upper management, middle management, and their idea for the corporate structure of Wizards of the Coast. This is a lofty goal. When you look at the numbers of it, the Wizards of the Coast branch of Hasbro, I think we've all kind of colloquially understood that that's been what has been propping up Hasbro. Hasbro's a big company. They've got a lot of market cap, a lot of revenue, a lot of toys, a lot of verticals that they're working in.
A lot of brands under their name.
But especially in the last decade, Dungeons and Dragons has blown up. Magic the Gathering has had a massive resurgence. I mean, I feel like we are currently in the heyday of the core offerings of Wizards of the Coast right now.
Mm-hmm.
And spinning them off from Hasbro, creating their own entity, would force Hasbro to have to restructure to get their, which would make Hasbro specific toys and other verticals better. Their stock price would then go up because they're improving as a company, and then Wizards of the Coast can continue on their trajectory without being hindered by these other services that they're and other products that they're having to kind of prop up under Hasbro. I don't think it'll happen. AltaFox is, as they note at the very top of this article, they are an activist investor group, and activist investor groups tend to be groups of investors that just go into companies and try and change things up. 2.5% of a company, is especially as large as Hasbro, is nothing to scoff at. I mean, that's a multi-billion-dollar corporation that you own 2.5% of. Like, that's tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I know how math works. It's definitely hundreds of millions of dollars. I think it would be interesting to see what Wizards of the Coast could do if it were kind of allowed off the leash, kind of like unbound from Hasbro. But because they are propping Hasbro up, and the massive shakeup that it would have on the corporate level, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
I'm not one that wants to go in and force companies to restructure if I don't think they're doing well, because in a lot of ways, I feel like the people that are doing the day-to-day at these corporations probably know a little bit more than us. So hearing it from one of the investor groups that is clearly privy to a lot of the corporate goings on at Hasbro is interesting insight. It's kind of clear that they're making all of this very, very public to try and garner public support and kind of pressure the board into doing what they want. Again, that's just part of doing business in a capitalist society. I am personally in favor of it, but I'm not going to be putting any of my weight behind it. I know that much.
I mean, yeah. We as small, piddly individual people in this world, we can sign a petition and we can go, woo. But that being said, yeah, as far as Hasbro's probably concerned, yeah, Hasbro doesn't want to give up their moneymaker.
Yeah, not at all.
No. But that being said, the business world is insane, and people do things that we have no idea why they would do them.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft buys Activision, PlayStation buys Bungie.
Yeah.
Like, corporate consolidation and, like, things are changing in a lot of entertainment industries right now. I mean, even recently, the city that we are recording from is close to Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And Cincinnati is becoming one of the hubs for Hollywood.
Yeah.
There's been so many movies that have been shot in Cincinnati in the last 5 years, and it's only getting more because of tax incentives and Hollywood going away from Hollywood.
Yeah. And I mean, in general, a lot of Ohio, actually, I know, there's just so much open space, and that's cheap to get a hold of that they
tax incentives. And
yeah. The event, part of the Avengers was shot in Ohio.
Yeah.
But yeah, also another thing is corporate dealings like this, where, breaking off part of a company or acquiring a company or trading parts of company, these things can take years at minimum.
Oh, yeah.
And most of the time, these are behind closed doors. So anything we're seeing right now could just disappear, and we don't hear anything because there's some sort of deals going on until a year, 2 years down the line.
Exactly.
We can only speculate what's going to happen.
Now, the AltaFox Capital Group, from how they've been wording everything, it feels like they put this proposal forward at the corporate level as a proposal to the board, and then in a way to garner more support for that, they went public with everything. Mm-hmm. And the publicity for inner workings of corporations is a powerful negotiation tool to get change to happen how you want it to happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see updates from AltaFox going forward. Mm-hmm. But this is definitely, if this were to happen, and that's a very big if, is a very, very big if. They might agree to some corporate restructuring and new hires in different positions, but a full-on spin-off of Wizards of the Coast is, I would say it's probably not going to happen.
No.
Which is a shame, because I think it'd be really good for Wizards of the Coast, and it would force Hasbro to have to make the necessary changes for them to make their other business models better. Mm-hmm. It would be a long-term win-win, but at the same time, why would you give up your cash cow?
Yeah.
So,
and anything good for Wizards of the Coast is going to be good for the Wizards of the Coast community.
For fans, for D&D, for Magic the Gathering, for us, it'll be good.
So, Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah,
if you're looking to hire somebody,
oh man,
if you need somebody to do a podcast,
we
got you. Though you already have somebody doing.
We will sell out immediately. Immediately sell out.
Or if you need people to create more content, if you need content writers,
ooh, yeah.
Designers, game
I
designers.
could be persuaded.
Yeah.
Write a fat enough check. I will do most anything. I'm okay with admitting that.
All right. I mean,
well, those are the main topics. Let's get to a wrap up now. First, Wizkids bringing 2 new dragons for the Dungeons and Dragons line. They've already released a couple. The adult metallic dragon. They have an adult silver dragon now. It's the second metallic dragon that they're going to be releasing. Is going to be it'll be a huge mini in terms of scale. It'll cost $99, and they are expecting it to release in July of 2022. The figure is pictured in this article on comicbook.com. It's flying, it's silver, it's metallic. But the big one, both figuratively and literally, is Balagos, the ancient red dragon. It's got a 24-inch wingspan, 18 inches tall. It's one of the most famous red dragons from the Forgotten Realms. He's believed to be the true ruler of all dragons. He has not appeared in any D&D adventures so far. So a lot of people are speculating that Wizkids is going to have this named dragon in one of their upcoming D&D adventures. Why else would they be making the very nice mini? It is very large. They show a comparison photo with a digital soda can for scale. It is quite large. It is the third gargantuan dragon figure that they've released, following Arviaturis, an ancient white dragon that appeared in Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden Adventure, and the gargantuan figure of Tiamat, the 5-headed dragon goddess. Balagos will retail for a price of $399.99 and is expected to come out sometime in June of 2022.
Yes,
I love a dragon. We've got a couple.
I don't think we're gonna buy this one.
Yeah, that's $400.
$400. The big dragon we have was a gift. Was a birthday gift for me from one of our friends.
Yeah. If anyone wants to give us a gift, we will happily accept Balagos, because that would be a top shelf of the shelving unit display piece for sure.
I mean, I don't think it would fit comfortably in the shelf. So
in the shelf, no.
But. Yeah, this is interesting that they are deciding to release more of these ginormous, really expensive miniatures.
I mean, the profit margins on them have to be insane. It's a lot of work, I'm sure, but it's going to be really, really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, item 2.
Item 2. Avalon Hill has teased on Twitter the 3rd edition of Betrayal at House on a Hill. So not D&D related or Magic the Gathering related, but we at this house are big fans of Betrayal at House on the Hill. There is a copy of the 2nd edition sitting right here
behind Jester.
Behind the cat.
I'll pull it aside. You might be able to see it there. Yeah, she's so chill about that.
Yeah. The 1st edition of Betrayal at House on the Hill, I believe, was popularized through Will Wheaton. He has had a series where he just plays board games. Oh, yeah. And Betrayal at House on the Hill 1st edition is now basically super expensive and unable to come by because of that show. They did a 2nd printing a couple years ago, and now they're talking about releasing a 3rd printing, which will correct some of the old mistakes that they have found in the game, as well as eliminate 8 older haunts and bring in 8 new ones.
Yep. The original Betrayal was released in 2004. The follow-up was in 2010, and they've released a couple of expansions and spin-offs. In 2016, Widow's Walk, 2017's Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, and 2018's Betrayal Legacy. It's a very fun game. Seems a lot more complicated than it is. It can be. But some of the haunts are like you can play that game 100 times and have a different, very, very different experience every single time.
Oh yeah, with because we have the Widow's Walk expansion, so there are 150 haunts. So there's 150 150 different scenarios and different sets of rules that the game adds halfway through. It's great fun. If you've never played it, I highly recommend it. Like Connor said, it seems complicated from the outside, but once you get into it, it's honestly, it's one of those games that's not bad at all to learn.
It's very good. It's very good. Next, Wizards of the Coast shared a first look into their upcoming Magic the Gathering release, Streets of New Capenna. Set in a new world inspired by neo-noir aesthetics and Metropolis-style art direction. Although details remain scarce, as official previews don't kick off until April 7th, Wizards did provide an exciting glimpse into some of the upcoming cards, themes, and even special edition treatments that are sure to get all types of Magic players excited for the next standard release. They've got some new cards, some interesting new lands that are kind of like they have a lot of dual lands in Magic the Gathering. These seem to be triple lands that have cycling available to them. They've got a product schedule starting. They get some story releases starting in March, a story video in March. The pre-release events are going to start on April 22nd at your local game shops, and then the official full release is going to be on April 29th of this year. And of course, you're going to have game days in May, and then store championships will start in July. Magic the Gathering is always cool. It's interesting that they are releasing kind of like a noir style kind of crime family sort of thing. They have 5 families of New Capenna, and all of these families are associated with 3 colors. Mm-hmm. Interesting because 3-colored Magic the Gathering decks are often very, very difficult to build. But it's interesting. Obscura, white, blue, black. Maestros, blue, black, red. Riveteers, black, green, red. Cabaretti, red, green, white. And then Brokers, green, white, and blue. I can tell you right now that Brokers deck of green, white, and blue is going to annoy a lot of fucking people. Because green decks are frustrating with their high mana and high mana creatures. And then the blue decks are going to be very infuriating with the counters and the stopping and the... And then white, of course, just...
I mean, it says they're demonic lawyers, so...
Yeah.
You know how people feel about lawyers.
Yep. They've got a whole lot of full art. They've got 10 new full art lands. They've got a couple of different art styles for same cards. They're going to have, I think, 3 different art styles for their various card releases. They got 5 new commander decks that they're going to be coming out with. And, yeah, it's... A new Magic the Gathering is always exciting. I feel like they kind of have sped up the rate at which they've been releasing new Magic the Gathering sets. Obviously, I mean, it's exceptionally more popular. They can make a lot of money. The art on it is lovely. The power creep. We'll get into this a little bit later, but some people are complaining a little bit about the Magic the Gathering power creep that may or may not be happening. Mm-hmm. But yeah, new Magic the Gathering setting. Check it out if you're into it. Next,
Dungeons and Dragons Online. Dungeons and Dragons Online marks the 16th anniversary and permanently unlocks more races and classes for free. Basically, in the 53rd update, that was, I believe, a week ago. Yeah, a week ago. At the time of recording, a week ago. When you hear it, it'll be 2.5 weeks, I think.
Something
anyway.
like that.
With the 53rd update, Hunters and Hunted. This is the return of anniversary events to celebrate the 16th year of Dungeons and Dragons Online and include several races and classes from the core D&D Player's Handbook have now been permanently unlocked for everyone. This will also include 2 new dungeons that end at a level 32 raid at a legendary difficulty, and include quests in the content that are 7 level on heroic difficulty. We've never played this.
Nope. I played RuneScape back in the day, MMORPG, but never D&D Online. If you're into your MMORPGs, your Final Fantasy 14, your your World of Warcraft, your RuneScape, etc., and so on, and you're into D&D, you might be into this. Just to specify, the races that are unlocked are the Dragonborn, Drow, Gnome, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, Tiefling, and Wood Elf, and the newly unlocked classes are Druid, Monk, and Warlock. If you have already purchased these races or classes, you will get a greater elixir of discovery for every one that you owned prior to the release of Update 53. Cool, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're into that sort of thing.
Maybe.
I like that if you have already bought them, you don't just get nothing.
Yeah.
You get something. I don't know what this elixir of greater discovery is, or greater elixir of discovery is. Sounds neat.
But maybe at some point if we start doing like a little more full time with this, that could be something we do. Is we stream some D&D online, Dungeons and Dragons online.
Man, I don't know if I have the mental wherewithal to do an MMORPG again. RuneScape enveloped my life for middle school for like 4 years.
You just gotta like dole it out in small doses.
I guess.
It's like that time when you had COVID, so we did nothing but play Apex for 2 weeks.
Awesome.
I was pretty burnt on Apex for a good 3 or 4 weeks after that.
Yeah, and that was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Imagine if that's just what we did. Damn. All right, last news item for the wrap-up. Magic the Gathering has a new ban list across several different formats this time. On March 7th, Wizards of the Coast announced that it has bans and restrictions as usual, though there is a very heavy emphasis on bans and literally no restrictions at all. Additionally, while there are normally at least 1 or 2 entries for Standard, the most popular tournament format, the latest announcement includes updates to Pioneer, Modern, and Pauper instead. Most notably, the card Loris of the Dream Den is banned in both Pioneer and Modern, effective immediately on March 7th, and they are not the first formats to see a ban of Loris in general. The banned cards include, of course, Loris of the Dream Den, banned in Pioneer and Modern. In Pauper, Galvanic Relay is banned, Disciple of the Vault is banned, and Expedition Map is banned as well. Additionally, Magic the Gathering newest set, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, is currently out in the next set. Streets of New Capenna, as we discussed previously, going to be releasing in the very near future. This ban list is very different in that they're banning non-standard formats, which is abnormal. No restrictions at all. It just seems a bit weird that these much lesser played formats that don't really have tournaments associated with them are getting ban lists at all. Ever since I could be speaking out of my ass here because I only vaguely understand, but like the newer Theros set, so not the Theros from like 2015, 2014, but the newer Theros set on with the D&D and the Vampire one, Crimson Vows. Those sets, a lot of people have been complaining that they have a very heavy power creep in them. Particularly the D&D set, and introduced a couple of new styles of cards and mechanics that incorporate the D20 a whole lot, make it thematic with D&D. But the power creep is real. I can say from my anecdotal experience of playing Magic the Gathering Arena, just playing matches, there's a lot of D&D cards that are being thrown about just because they are very, very efficient. I'm not in the Magic the Gathering community heavily at all.
Yeah.
But new band list will be made aware of. New set that's currently out, Neon Dynasty. And then upcoming, of course, the Streets of New Capenna. Hopefully they don't get a little too wild. They might wild themselves out.
Yeah.
Because I can already say that as a fairly novice Magic the Gathering player, it is very dense to get into Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I get that. I vaguely in high school got into it. And it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, we love D&D, we love board games, we love card games. And things like Magic the Gathering, and also like I think Warhammer is neat. But there are a lot to get into both games just based on, how long people have been playing and all the sets and all the rules that you can include in both of these games and plenty others.
Yeah, I got into Magic the Gathering a little bit back in 2014, my freshman year of college. Our RA was a big Magic the Gathering fan, and he got us into it shortly before the pre-release events for Theros, and we did a local game shop pre-release event for Theros. That was a Greek god setting. There's also a Theros campaign setting for D&D. That's one of the ones that we don't have that I've been wanting to get because I really like the Greek aesthetic.
Yeah.
But we got into, and then as Theros was going on, we kind of fell out before the next release. I don't even remember what was after that. And then this year I got into Magic the Gathering Arena for about a month and a half, 2 months. The tutorials in Magic the Gathering Arena are really good at teaching a lot of the base mechanics, a lot of the base card attributes like lifelink and trample and that kind of stuff. But once you play through those tutorial matches and you get a whole lot of just free cards and a lot of pre-made decks, so you can figure out how things are supposed to work and kind of play around with them and then start building your own. After that, you're going to encounter a lot of the same kinds of decks because of the free cards that they give everyone are the same. And there's a couple of very meta options that are abundantly clear that you get most of the cards from these base packs. And then the really power users, a lot of them were not running a whole lot of Crimson Vow when Crimson Vow was new. A lot of them are running the D&D set. And a lot of the mechanics there are different and unique, and they don't have a tutorial for. The idea of entering the dungeon and having a dungeon card and spending mana to enter the dungeon and then getting stacking effects and different it gets very, very complicated very quickly. The D&D set is cool. A lot of the art is fantastic. It's very thematic. It's wonderful, but Magic the Gathering is not very easy to get into, and what we've seen so far of Streets of New Capenna and what we've seen from Neon Dynasty is if you're not already kind of into it and got sucked in, it's going to get harder to get into it. That I feel like that should be a big push for Wizards of the Coast to try and find. Magic the Gathering Arena is kind of that.
An easy entry point. An
easy entry point, but it very quickly gets overwhelming. And that's kind of what stopped me from continuing to play it. And it's also what stopped me from buying the actual real D&D set and wanting to collect it just because I enjoy collecting things. And I thought it'd be fun content. I just knew that I wouldn't stick with Magic the Gathering because there's too much going on. Kind of like the same with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
How Yu-Gi-Oh! Has evolved so heavily from when we played it as kids. And now you've got synchro summons and XE summons and all these other crazy shit that's going on. And so many decks are built around the one turn crazy stupid setup that the standard summon a normal monster or something face down in defense and then set a card and then end your turn is not going to do you any good anymore.
Yeah. I remember seeing a TikTok of a Yu-Gi-Oh creator. It's been a couple weeks, but where he just all he did was narrate as he watched this guy play, and basically, first turn the dude burned his whole deck to get out Exodia.
Yep. I mean, that's not an easy thing. You have to have a little bit of luck, but
you can set don't get me wrong, it's really cool and to see people do that. That's people have worked really hard to be able to do that. And I guess we kind of see that in our main fandom as well, which is D&D, of course.
The power gamers,
because this is ostensibly a D&D podcast.
Ostensibly.
But there's so I get it. There are, just looking at our books, there are so many books. There's so many third-party things. And we kind of mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast, we had one go viral way more than we were expecting it. And while a lot of the comments were, I'd love to join in, that sounds like fun, or tagging other people to be like, hey, we should get our campaign back together, there were also a huge amount that was like, I don't know how to get into D&D. Can you teach me how to play D&D?
And as much as I would love to teach everyone on the internet how to play D&D,
we
might want to file that away. There's a long form series of how to play. There's a lot of great
Oh,
how to
there's
play
a huge
D&D
amount of
video series online. One of my favorite is, I believe it's Don't Stop Talking. It's like this animated thing. That's how I learned how to play D&D. Very good. We might want to throw our own hat into that ring.
Yeah, we could absolutely start doing a series like that. But yeah, there were a lot of people who were like, I would love to learn to play, but it looks intimidating. It feels gatekeepy, which there is a problem with that out there.
Yeah.
But I would almost hazard to say, I could be completely wrong in saying this, but I would hazard to say that D&D, the community is doing its best to go out there and start and weed out a lot of the gatekeeping and a lot of the negative nerd community aspects around D&D specifically.
As I joked in one of the comments, the only gatekeeping around here is the NPC guard that you rolled a 2 on persuasion against to get around.
Yeah.
That's the only gatekeeping going on here. Well, those are all the topics that we have to discuss. We're almost at an hour. Do we have any questions from the TikTok Live? Because yet again, even though we've had several people join our Discord recently, which we thank you all very much, no questions in the Discord this week.
No. We did have a conversation where a poster asked about some issues he was having in his D&D group, and we were both very delighted to see that some other members of our Discord jumped in and
immediately.
Yeah.
If you have any issues with your group or wanting to learn how to play D&D, or there's our community, though very small. Very small. We have some very helpful and very kind people in our Discord server. I want to shout out one of our friends, one of our internet friends, Role Playing Degenerates.
Yeah.
He immediately jumped on to help this guy out. If you want to learn how to play D&D, if you want to hit up the Discord. I'm sure that there's someone in there that would be more than happy to sit down for an hour and a half and do a quick little one-on-one how to play D&D session. Mm-hmm. We've done one-on-one how to play D&D sessions with our friends before. Yeah. They're very fun. Or it was more like 2-on-1.
Well, we've done both.
2 players, 1 DM.
I've done both. Yeah.
It's a good time.
Maybe that's something we could talk about. We are almost at 15,000 followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we could talk about in the future, is when we start hitting some follower goals, or maybe do that for our YouTube instead. Offer up some of our time to the people that join our Discord. All right. Anyway, over to the TikTok Live. We have Zabu Samori. Zabu asks, Pathfinder or D&D proper? Preference?
Pathfinder, I do not have a lot of experience with. From what I understand, it's kind of like somewhat similar to older editions of D&D, where it's hyper customizable. Mm-hmm. And I would argue that too much customizability is to the detriment of a system. And I think the reason that Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has exploded so much is because it is so accessible and easy to digest for new players. Yeah, but the depth is there for people that want to.
That is definitely one of the goals, was to make it more about the role-playing and more easily acceptable or easily digestible. There's a huge fan base for Pathfinder, and we are strong proponents of
both.
But both. If something's not working for you in 5e, go check out Pathfinder, or maybe go check out Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool smaller RPG systems, like what was that one Critical Role one? Was it Cinder Hearts?
Cinder Hearts, yeah,
that's fun. What do we have?
We have Kids on Brooms.
Kids on Brooms.
Which there's also a Kids on Bikes, which is more representative of like a Hogwarts scenario, or a
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things was Kids on Bikes, yeah.
We have the Bunkers and Badasses.
Yeah, that's from Borderlands.
Yeah, there's a lot of RPG systems out there. There's a Lord of the Rings official one. Mm-hmm.
Star Wars official.
There's a Star Wars official one. And then there's versions of all of those that are 5e compatible for D&D as well. Mm-hmm. So just take a look. Don't feel beholden to any one RPG system. We love D&D. It's very popular. It's large. It's got a massive community. But you'll find a good RPG, a good sized RPG, a very passionate RPG community for any of these systems.
Yeah.
And I would I would be down if we had free time to dive into some other RPG systems, but
maybe that's something we'll start doing. Like we said, we're hoping to get some stream stuff going here in the next couple of months. But
that's a lot. But yeah.
Well, just to say, like, do some one shots. Maybe we have a couple of DMs who are interested in doing some stuff with our friends who are interested in doing stuff. Maybe if they want to if they are interested in running a one shot for 10 candles or example, which is a horror mystery based system.
I will not be participating in that one. Thank you very much.
Anyway, moving on. G-Min J says, I love tiered feats. This is back when we were talking about the UA.
Oh yes, tiered feat. It's a system that they haven't incorporated yet into 5th edition, and my initial thoughts are that's really cool, but a little limiting. If the base like prerequisite feats are good, then I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. But if the base prerequisite feats are kind of lackluster, then it might be like, are you giving these out for free at the beginning of a campaign? Are you forcing your players to take them at their first ASI, which means cool, powerful feats they won't even have access to till like level 8?
Yeah, it's really going to depend on a lot. We're going to jump ahead in the future here, but a lot on the 5.5.
Yeah.
How Wizards redesigns things from 5e into 5.5, and if they don't change the rules at all for feats right now, as it is raw, it's not going to work as well. But if they start encouraging feats to be given out more freely and more openly, I think that's definitely how we'll see this sort of thing come out more often.
Make more of like an explicit mechanical way to spend like downtime to get feats, or the idea of give everyone a base level, like initiate level feat for free at the beginning, sort of a thing. And that's kind of what it looks like this Dragonlance UA is leaning towards as well. G-Min
J also says, I love that they have feats that require you to be part of an organization.
Yeah.
Also
get feats tied into backgrounds.
Yeah, we saw that in Strixhaven as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. That first happened in Strixhaven, where you pick your college. We have an entire episode on Strixhaven as well. I liked that episode a lot.
Right up there, it'll appear right up there. Though the TikTok live won't see that, and the YouTube has not our faces on it, so it won't see me pointing. We'll link it.
We'll link it. Probably. Make a note of this when you're listening to it later, and then we'll mark it. We have an entire episode on Strixhaven, and having to choose your magical school, and then getting just free, like, the backgrounds had the feats kind of integrated into the background to make it easier for 5th edition. Like, all of the backgrounds have features, but most of those features rarely, if ever, come up.
Yeah.
And these are more actual, like, mechanical, pay attention, you use this on a daily basis kind of feature. And then you can grow on those features as you progress through the adventure. It's a good time. Check it out if you're into it. It's out right now.
G-Min J then goes on to talk. We were talking about the fact that we haven't read the Dragonlance novels. G-Min J says, also there are like 150 plus Dragonlance novels. Catching up would take forever.
Dragonlance is a lot, but it always sounds so fucking cool. I just can't do that right now. Like, maybe a book, but then I would be afraid I would like it too much and want to go down that rabbit hole. Why don't we have a fucking, like, Game of Thrones style, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power style Dragonlance show?
I don't know.
Get on that, Witches of the Coast. We'll take our cut.
Maybe that's something to do if we ever go, quit our jobs and go full time doing this whole D&D on the internet thing. We could make a whole series out of reading the Dragonlance books.
Maybe.
Of course, that's years down the line.
That's
far beyond our purview of attention span being 10 minutes.
Free time being 10 minutes.
Pretty much. Skittles the Idiot says, face with sunglasses, face with sunglasses, face with sunglasses. Which I think is cool in emoji speak.
I mean, we are pretty cool. I'm pretty cool.
No one said that.
I did.
I mean, you're no one. Friend of the show, Dustin Blunt 7.
I don't know what a blunt is.
Right?
I don't know what a blunt is.
Dustin Blunt 7 says, hello, gentlemen. Good to see you. Love your content. Keep it up. Dustin, glad you were able to hop into chat today. Love to see you in there.
Keep it up. Are you in the Discord? You should join the Discord server. Link in the link tree in the bio, as well as a description of the YouTube video. Not in the podcast services around the globe, though, sadly. No. Oh, we didn't do any of the rundown of things at the beginning.
We'll do it at the wrap. Or you can pop them in the beginning.
Don't tell me what to do. I'm not going to do that.
I'm not telling you. I'm just saying you could.
We need to, yeah. For our 6-month self-assessment, format. We need to work on format.
Yeah.
We just kind of, I like the rolling start, but we just kind of go and forget things a lot.
It happens.
It'd be like that.
Then Dustin Blunt also, when Jester hopped up on the table, says kitty with a emoji of a cat.
Yes, she is taking a nap right now on the table. Oftentimes she doesn't like to join us up here, but I think she was frustrated by the lack of hair ties because I picked one up and I just kind of slowly. Okay, cool. She didn't react when I dropped that on the ground. That's good.
Anyway, that's all that we have in the chat currently.
That's all we got.
All
right. Well, next week we're going to talk about this UA for Dragonlance. Actually, get a deep dive into it once we've had a chance to thoroughly look through it and gather our thoughts and talk about it in general. After that, we'll probably do Call of the NetherDeep. We might do a little first thoughts on Call of the NetherDeep next week as well.
Yep.
It is mildly frustrating. Like these things come out and then it takes us a while to talk about them. But I would argue, I'm of like two minds because it's frustrating that we can't like immediately like be out there talking about it. But I think it's good that we get time to like digest, figure out our thoughts on it, and like actually be able to have a good discussion about it.
And our time is limited.
If we were doing this weekly, it'd be a lot easier to get all this stuff in. But we're not going to do that.
Not yet.
If it reaches the point where we can hire our friend Andy to edit the podcast, and then we can just do this and then give it to him and then get it back magically, then I would be more willing and able to do this on a weekly basis.
So send a letter to your state representative saying that you want us to do weekly editions of this show. Yeah.
Don't write about not wanting to use Russian oil. Don't write about the inflation rate. Don't write about your power companies doubling your electric bills. Write to them about us doing the podcast weekly.
Yep.
Write to them that we should get a support tier going and do an additional podcast every couple weeks for those that are supporting us.
Yeah.
A sort of I don't know what we would call it.
That's the thing. This podcast doesn't really have a name. It's just the Dungeon Bros podcast. We really need like a subtext or a subline.
Yeah. We would need it. There's a trend right now of podcasts being the like insert name a blank and blank podcast. Like Dungeon Bros, a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Or if we were to do an extra one, we could be like Dungeon Bros After Dark, a Dungeons and Dragons supplement podcast. You know?
I think we need to be a little more descriptive. Be like a Dungeons and Dragons news release podcast. Because that's what we mostly talk about.
We're workshopping.
But it's because it's not an actual play, which I think a lot of the podcasts out there are just actual plays.
That is true. I feel like that might be hindering us a little bit.
Is that we're not an actual play?
No, that we're not specifying that we're not an actual play podcast. Because there's a million actual play podcasts out there. And we want to create an actual play stream of our own that we could release in podcast form.
Yeah.
Which we might
maybe
take a note. Dodie, take that down. If you like us, you probably have found us on TikTok. You can follow us there, where almost 15,000 of you already do. Yeah. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, where almost 100 of you already do. We have a video up that we just posted to our YouTube talking about our free March release for Homebrew. We're talking a couple feats. We were talking about feats earlier today. We're a big fan of feats. If you like free Homebrew, you can hit up our Drive-Thru RPG, link in the link tree of the TikTok, as well as the description of the YouTube video of this podcast. Not in the podcast services around the globe: Apple, Google, Spotify, Plex. mini fridge.
Where you can also find us.
You can also find us, but there's not links there.
No, but if you want to listen. If you want to listen.
It's a good listen. It's a good listen.
Yeah.
It's much more convenient than having the YouTube app open.
Right.
You pay for the premium, and then you have to. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, just Spotify. We're free. Take us on the go. Listen to us in the car.
Yep. You can follow us on Twitter at Dungeon Bros YT. In the coming months, we're going to have a very big 5e supplement on blood magic, using hit dice to fuel features for several subclasses, several spells, several features, magic items, lore, stat blocks, the whole 9 yards.
If you're into that, it'll be $4.99 or pay what you want on Drive-Thru-RPG. But
No. Pay what you want insinuates they'd be free.
it's you say it and so it's and up. If they want to pay us $10,
If you want to pay us $10 for the supplement, I mean, but pay what you want. Sadly, it allows you. I don't think it lets you set a minimum. Maybe on the back end. I don't know. I'll need to look into that.
I'm pretty sure you can do $4.99. I'm pretty sure you can do a minimum or what you want.
Minimum or above. If you want a complimentary copy of this supplement, we are going to be giving away probably 3 or 5 copies. We'll divide it as either 2 and 1 or 3 and 2, depending on how many. The larger half going to our Discord server. If you are a member there and you are not a personal friend of ours, personal friends of ours will just be getting them. But if you are a member of our Discord server there, then you'll have a chance to get it. And we'll probably post a video on TikTok or something. If you watch it, then it'll be like a comment, share, follow thing, and we'll pick and we'll pick a couple from the comments for free to DM. Also, if you have a favorite D&D content creator on the YouTubes or the TikToks, you can feel free to put them in the comments of any of our videos, DM us on Twitter, tweet at us, whatever, because we want to hand out as many complimentary copies to D&D content creators as possible. Spread the love.
Same with if you are an artist or know an artist that would love to do some blood magic-y art for this,
yes.
Jump into our Discord and let us know. And that's where we would really like to start is people who are in our small community. We would love to commission you first before we go to the general populace.
Yeah, I put out a tweet just kind of get feelers out, and there were a lot of random people that were just DMing, being like, hey, hire me. It's like, all right, well...
I get it. They have to grind.
I get it. I respect the grind. I respect the grind. A lot of them felt like bots.
Probably.
Some of them felt like bots.
Probably were. Probably. I mean, they probably have it set up so anybody who does that, they automatically get messages like
Maybe.
that.
It felt body.
Yeah.
Anyway, we didn't really talk about this because it's not really our purview, but I'll say hearts go out to Ukrainians. Stay safe out there. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Jester would give you pets and hope that makes you feel a little better.
Yeah.
You can search out any resources you want for... We're not going to provide any. That's not really our place. We're not Ukrainians. Love them. Great people. In the meantime, the next episode, we're going to be talking about the UA for Dragonlance. Episode after that, we're going to be talking about Call of the NetherDeep, the Critical Role adventure. It'll be a bit of a spoiler cast, so if you don't want to be spoiled on the adventure, then, don't watch. We'll give you a warning on that one. Other than that,
yeah.
I'm gonna go make some lunch. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm going to do that too. So in the meantime, peace